Hello friends, it's jrpg. Welcome back to my Final Fantasy VI walkthrough. In the last episode, we nearly escaped Kefka's clutches as a burning Figaro castle dove below the desert. So right now, we're taking Terra to meet Bannon, the leader of the resistance group known as the Returners, so let's get started. And the first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and throw everyone in the back row. The reason for this is that Edgar is primarily going to be using his tools, Locke is going to be stealing, and Terra will be casting, so there's no real need to have anyone in the front row. And you might be thinking, we should probably heal first since we're heading into a dungeon, but... The soldier says, King Edgar, where are you headed? Edgar replies, through the cave and eastward to South Figaro. Return to the castle and tell the others we're safe. Although I don't know how he's going to return to the castle beneath the sand, but whatever. Soldier replies, yes sir, take care. And what I was going to say, as I'm rudely interrupted by some actual enemies, this is mildly dangerous. Terra is at 22 HP. So hopefully this goes smoothly. Let's go ahead and use an auto crossbow. Oh no, okay. Ooh. I'm glad we put everyone in the back row. And auto crossbow should clean this all up. There we go. Alright, that gave me a little bit of scare, but what I was getting at is there is a recovery spring right here that's going to fully restore us and get us ready to finish this dungeon, which is pretty short. Now, there are a few treasures in here, but we're going to leave those behind for right now. If we were to pick them up right now, it would be 2 tinctures and a phoenix down, which is not particularly impressive. So let's just fire off a fire spell and use auto crossbow, and that's going to get us through this entire area just fine. Ooh, and Terra learns Antidote right on time. That is nice indeed. But what I was saying a moment ago is that we're going to leave the treasures for right now. They will become much better later on. So we're just going to take the direct path and get out of here as quickly as we can. And I'm gonna walk back some of the things that I've said about steel. I've found that at least in this scenario, you can actually build up a pretty wild number of healing items. Which, while we're still kind of trying to get ahead of the economy of the game, is very nice. And this step right here, I forgot to mention while we were walking through here, but this would be the last moment that you could possibly get the cutscene where Terra casts fire in front of Edgar and Locke. Now, the enemies out here can be a bit dangerous, but this does give me the chance to talk about tools a little bit more in depth. I bought them, but didn't really mention what they did. It does have a little helpful description, but basically the Bioblaster that I'm using here is useful against humanoid creatures. Things that have human-like features. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but we've arrived at South Figaro. Now, interestingly, this entire place is optional, and we see that character in the bottom right making a break for it. We will follow him, but that can wait for a moment because there's a lot to talk about in this town. This is the place where Figaro sends all of their weapons and things they manufacture, and there are a ton of treasures in here, and these will also change if we wait. So let's get started. Here's a tonic. I'm going to try to go through these as comprehensively as possible and tell you what they would be later, and I think you'll understand as I do that why we're going to get them now. So this tonic in particular would change into a Revivify later. Let's see what this guy has to say. You'll find lots of excellent weapons, armor, and relics in our shop. That is a fact. Now, if we swing around this way, we will find a soft potion. That would change into an elixir later, which is better, but I think you're probably starting to see what I'm talking about. They just change into more basic items. Now, we could check out the Chocobo stable, but we don't need to hire a Chocobo right now, so let's just get out of here. And this green cherry would have turned into a tent later. And so it's just one of those things where I just want to get them now, once again, while we're trying to get ahead of the economy. Welcome to South Figaro, he says. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, there is a lot to grab in here, so I'm going to try to not forget anything, but I might. But don't worry if I do, we will be back here later. This tonic here is one that you may want to wait on. It turns into an X potion later, and those are somewhat rare. But I tend to think of it as just like, they're just basic items, we'll just grab them now. The little girl says, I can't believe it, the Empire will smash us. Yeah, they just might. They are in the smashing business. Beyond Mount Kolts, you'll find the SABIN mountain range. That is good to know. This antidote would change into a tent later. And this eye drop would be a remedy later. Like I say, not really a big deal. Let's check out the docks. This ship isn't going anywhere, and I believe this guy will have the same thing to say. Yep. So if it's not going anywhere, let's get out of here. But I did want to check it out just for the sake of exploration. Now let's check out the cafe. Interestingly, that is a localization change. These are actually bars or pubs. Duncan's students have no peers. Well, we don't know who that is yet, but we'll find out shortly. The guy at the counter, he's kind of creepy. The Empire's been invading one town after the next. We're not safe here. No, you're probably not safe anywhere. Are kids allowed in here? What do you think? Oh, all right. She's gonna sit down and have a drink, and I think that's just fine. Duncan made his son, Vargas, practice a strict martial arts lifestyle. Vargas resented it. So, a lot of people are gonna be talking about that, and that's for a good reason, but let's talk to this figure that we saw earlier. Doesn't have anything to say. Locke says, at the very least, you could give me a response. Edgar says, stand back. He seems vaguely familiar. Wait a minute. He owes allegiance to no one and will do anything for money. He comes and goes like the wind. Oh, yes, it's Shadow the Ninja. All right. That's Shadow. He'd slit his mama's throat for a nickel. That seems like a pretty low price, but you know what? I don't know how much a nickel is worth in a world where the currency is actually gil. Locke says, better steer clear of him, I guess. And indeed we should, but let's see what happens if we talk to his dog. Shadow says, leave us. The dog eats strangers. The dog's name, by the way, is Interceptor, and it's probably true that he eats strangers. He's a tough little pup, let's put it that way. This guy in bed says, the Empire attacked Figaro Castle? Now we'll all be drawn into the battle. Yep, things are looking increasingly warlike. And I just want to do a good job of exploring all the areas, but there's nothing we really need to do here right now. We don't even need to stay at the inn because we'll find a free one fairly soon. Now here's where I probably should have gone first. This is the relic shop. Let's check it out. Equip relics to gain a variety of abilities. These double my walking speed. And he runs off embarrassed because he slammed into the wall like the Kool-Aid Man. Relics give your party members a variety of abilities, says Mog. For example, Sprint Shoes double your speed. True Knight lets you shield others during battle. Dragoon Boots add the jump command to your battle list. Gauntlet allows you to hold the sword with both hands. Use the main menu to equip up to 2 relics per person. Now, the relics do come with helpful descriptions, but they don't always tell the full story, but that's what you keep me around for. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about these. We're only going to buy one of them, and that's Sprint Shoes to increase our walking speed because walking this slow is starting to drive me insane. So we'll buy one of those, but we'll talk about the rest really quick here. We have goggles, which prevent dark, which would be a minus 25% penalty to your hit rate and a minus 25% penalty to your evade rate, but it actually doesn't do anything. because of the evade glitch. Now, there is a small exception to that, but we'll talk about that a little bit later when it becomes relevant. For now, let's move on to the Star Pendant, which will prevent poison. The Jewel Ring prevents Dark and Petrify, and True Night works like Cecil's cover from Final Fantasy IV. It lets you block incoming attacks on characters with low HP. We're not going to buy any of these, although you could make a very strong argument that you would want either Star Pendants or Jewel Rings, because we will be encountering status ailments soon. But I think Terra's antidote spell that she learned recently will serve that purpose just fine. So we're going to put on these sprint shoes and look at us go now. Oh God, is that better? I'm very, very happy with that. Okay. So we've checked out the cafe. Why don't we pop in this building up here? Has war really begun? I'd better return home. Yeah, you're probably not going to want to stay here too much longer. And here we get a Phoenix Down, which does not change into anything, that just stays a Phoenix Down. So there can be no argument that now is a good time to grab that one. And let's talk to this guy. Attack from the east, that way. Oh! Hey, what do you think you're doing? Barging in here while I'm trying to write a letter. Harumph. Oh, sorry. Even a millionaire can be startled. And this woman says there's always a nasty draft in this room. Where's it coming from? And we're going to check that out in a second, but this guy is pretty clearly working for the enemy. In fact, before we do that, let's talk to these people over here. A couple of kids running around. Chung chung, chung chung, Magitech armor. You can imagine that Magitech armor would be kind of like a cool toy for a kid, despite its kind of horrific usages. This little girl says, my dad's very important. Why, not so long ago, he even dined with General Leo. I just made that up. Yeah, so he is clearly collaborating with the Empire, but there's not much we can do about that right now. Anyway, let's try to find the source of the draft in this room, which is gonna be right back here. Now, if we take these stairs all the way down, we can find this area, but let's find a secret first. If we go straight down and to the right, we will find some stairs down, and we're going to find some pretty cool stuff in here. We get a Hyper Wrist and the running shoes. Let's check those out. So the Hyper Wrist raises Vigor, which is very nice. That will help with the calculations for your physical damage. And running shoes cast haste, but that's not the complete story. They also prevent slow because it's like a permanent haste buff, so you can't have slow cast on you. We're definitely going to give Edgar... I guess we'll just go ahead and give him both of these, but we want haste on Edgar so that he can use the auto crossbow much more quickly. Now, if we check out these rooms, they're going to be empty. And technically, you're not, quote-unquote, supposed to be checking this area out right now. You could leave it for later. But we're going to check it out anyway and grab all the stuff in here right now. An old clock. It's ticking. We'll keep that in mind for later. For now, let's raid all these treasure boxes. They're going to have a bunch of gil in it, which is nice because we're going to need to buy a bunch of stuff. 1,500 in here, and what do you think's in the last one? You guessed it, nothing. And this old clock over here is not ticking. We'll just remember that for later. For now, we're all done in here, so let's get out of here. And I think, speaking of weapons and armor needing to buy stuff, why don't we head over to the armory? Oh, these sprint shoes are kind of goofing me up a little bit. I can see how that guy slammed into the wall, to be honest. And the armory is going to be right over here. So let's check out the weapons. There is some pretty good stuff here, and there is a Noise Blaster and a Bio Blaster if you didn't pick those up. And to finish what I was talking about with the tools from earlier, the Noise Blaster casts Confuse on everything, so that one's just for fun. Bio Blaster is for your humanoids, and then the Auto Crossbow is for everything else. For right now, I think I'm going to just grab one Regal Cutlass. That should be all we need, because we're not really going to be attacking physically. Yeah, why don't we throw that on here? And then what I'm going to do is remove Edgar's Mithril Blade, equip that on Locke, because Locke may physically attack from time to time. He doesn't have any other option other than stealing. But since Edgar's not really going to be using his weapon, we'll just throw the Mithril Knife on him, and that's all we really need to do here. Let's move on to the armor. Now, there's a bunch of sweet upgrades here. We're just going to really deck ourselves out because we have quite a crawl ahead of us. So let's get 3 of these for everybody. 3 plumed hats, a cotton robe, and a kung fu suit for Locke. Now, let's put all that stuff on. And I'm going to do these one at a time. Ordinarily, you could just click Optimum, and it would just put on all of the upgrades. But let's go through them one at a time just for right now so we can see what the upgrades look like. Just going to kind of go through these slow so you can take a look. The Heavy Shield is a big, big upgrade. Unfortunately, that extra evade isn't going to help, but the defense is really nice. And the Kung Fu suit is a nice upgrade as well. And let's upgrade Terra. All right. All that's left to do is sell the rest of this stuff we don't need. In fact, let's go ahead and arrange everything, just so I know what I've got. And one thing I want to do is put the auto crossbow in the top slot for my tools. I'm kind of tired of clicking around when I have to use it. Okay. All of this stuff can go. We don't want to sell those? Okay. Time to get out of here. Now we have a few more things to do while we're here. Mount Kolts is to the east. That is good to know. But one thing I want to pick up is right over here, and that's this warp stone. This is the one treasure in town that actually gets worse if you wait. It turns into a phoenix down, and that is unequivocally worse than a warp stone. So we're going to go ahead and pick that up right now, and there's only 1 or 2 more houses to check out. Let's talk to this kid over here before we head inside. The house in the northern part of town belongs to our wealthiest citizen. He did manage to mention unprompted that he's a millionaire, so thanks, kid. This town will go down fighting. Even with their Magitech armor, we'll make it tough on them. I don't think you have any grasp of what Magitech armor can do, sir. My grandfather was a servant for the richest man in town. Interesting. And this guy says, I don't like strangers. Bring me some cider and maybe I'll talk to you. Now, we can't give him any cider right now, but that's worth remembering for later. Now, as we come downstairs, we're going to want to swing on over to this side and grab this tonic in this pot right over here. And it's worth noting how sort of maze-like and secret passagey this place is. That's for a good reason. But we'll worry about that a little bit later. Where I want to go right now is in this house over here. Duncan's house. That's the person that trained his son Vargas in the martial arts lifestyle. Let's talk to this person here. She says, my husband Duncan is a world-famous martial artist. He's taking his disciples to Mount Kolts for meditation and training. And that is very interesting, and since we don't really have a direction, we may want to check that out. We're not going to worry about that save point. We won't need it. But I do believe there is one person that I missed talking to. But for now, let's check out the item shop. There's not going to be anything we really need in here, but it's worth taking a look anyway. We don't really need any of this stuff. We can steal plenty of tonics and all that good stuff, so we'll leave it for now. Now, there is one person left in town that I want to talk to, and we're going to get to that person via a little secret passage right here. Now, it is super debatable whether or not this was in the game intentionally, and I'll talk a little bit about why later on. But for now, let's head back to the cafe. And I forgot to go in the basement a little while ago, so let's just head down here and talk to this guy. And he's gonna say, out of the way, I gotta get this cider over to the old man. That's my job. Now scram. He's not very nice. And we can't do anything with this for right now, but it is worth paying attention to where he's going to end up going. We remember the old man from earlier said we needed to give him cider if he were to talk to us. So we can kind of follow this guy and see where his path takes him. But you'll kind of notice these sort of hidden passageways. There's a lot going on in this town. And so he's going to take the cider in, but we don't need to worry about that. In fact, I think it's time to get out of here. Now, since we're just running away from the Empire, we don't really have much of a direction. But where we're going to go for right now is straight north. To this little house right up here. And it's just a solitary house, so let's head inside. Edgar says, what's that smell? And if we check a few things in here, Edgar will say flowers, his favorite. These dishes, they were his favorite. And this, his favorite tea. Interesting. Now let's grab this tonic in this pot and take a quick nap. This is why we didn't stay at the inn in South Figaro. Is because there's a nice free one right over here. But Edgar suddenly realizes, Sabin, he was here? He most certainly was. And now this old man has appeared outside, so let's talk to him. What the? You know this guy? And now it's not completely clear what's going on here. Like, is Edgar pointing to the house and saying, do you know the guy who lives here? But what's actually going on is Edgar is showing him a coin that he has, which has Edgar's face on one side and Sabin's on the other. And the man replies, of course. He left a couple of days ago after he heard Master Duncan was slain. He headed into the mountains. I heard Duncan's son Vargas is missing as well. I have a bad feeling about this. And yeah, none of that sounds good at all. Apparently, Duncan is dead, Vargas is missing, and the mountains seem like a good place to look to investigate what's going on with all of that. Oh boy. A Renatar back attack, you say? Well, we're not going to mess around. We're going to try to end this fight quickly, but these Renatars do have something that I want to steal, so I'm going to try. But considering we're in the front row, these guys are no joke. Okay, down he goes. Let's keep heading for Mount Kolts. Now this place is pretty sweet. There's going to be a couple of secret treasures in here that I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on. So we're just going to dive right in. And just before the battle happened, there was a sort of shadowy figure up above us. Well, we're going to use our same strategy we use on basically everything. No different in here. Keep trying to steal, keep casting fire, and keep using the auto crossbow. Now, we don't want to go too crazy with our fire magic, because we don't want to run out of MP, which is certainly a possibility at this point in the game. Gore is pretty decent damage there. 33 is a lot. But Locke gains a level right on time. That is nice. That's going to help him steal more effectively. Let's keep following that shadowy figure. Now in here we immediately want to come to the bottom right. That'll get us that chest we saw a moment ago. The Guardian. Now this is going to be a knife for Locke. And it's pretty good. It evades randomly, but the actual evade stat boost doesn't really help him. For obvious reasons, because that stat doesn't work. But we're going to put it on him anyway. And I should mention that the buff to speed is nice as well. And for our first secret, we're going to want to come this way. Ooh, brawlers are new, so we can leave this in. One thing you might be tempted to do because they're humanoid is use the Bioblaster on them, but do not do that. It will heal them. And you will feel a little embarrassed. But fire in the auto crossbow, clean them up just like everything else, although we could use a little bit of a top-up right now. And this is also part of the reason you don't want to go through Terra's magic too quickly. You will need it for a little bit of healing. You'll end up in a pretty serious number of fights in here. But this is what I'm after right over here. The Atlas Armlet. This thing is really sweet. Now, one thing I should have done when I grabbed the Guardian is show this little helpful text box here. So the Atlas Armlet reads that it raises fight damage, but that's not exactly correct. What it does do is adds 20% to all physical damage. And as it turns out, the auto crossbow is actually physical damage. So we're going to throw the Atlas Armlet on Edgar and throw the Hyper Wrist onto Locke because he has really nothing better to put on. But that is a nice one, and it's going to make the auto crossbow even beefier than it already is. In fact, let's take a look at that right now. Obviously, 20% is not a huge increase, but it is in fact an increase. And with one more level up on Edgar, he should start just mowing down everything in here, no problem. Yep, and there it is. Nice. And now we can continue on the way forward. And there goes that shadowy figure. So let's keep following him. And man, that background looks really sweet. And we'll receive a tent, and we will actually be needing that, I think. All right, we are hitting some nice level ups in here. Why don't we top up just a bit? Better to play it safe, and we are running a little low on MP, so we're going to have to watch that, but we're doing okay. There he goes. Take this very safe-looking bridge. And finally, we come upon a save point, and I think here I'm going to use that tent we just found. We'll just get everybody right back up to 100% because your boss fight sense should be tingling anytime they give you a save point in JRPGs. Yep, and here are the Trilliums. These would be the reason you would want to have picked up Star Pendants. They will often poison you, but like I said, the Antidote spell is just fine. And Star Pendants are pretty expensive at this point in the game. A lot of walkthroughs I read recommend buying like 3 of them, and I'm like, that seems insane. We gotta take this winding pathway all the way to the bottom. And this is the largest formation that you'll see out here, so I think I'll leave this in. Just because that's probably the most dangerous grouping you can run into. Didn't even really need the fire spell. 240 is like super overkill, but you know what? They deserve it. Now let's see if we can't unravel the mystery of what's going on here. And who might that be? Let's find out. It's Vargas, and he says Sabin sent you, right? And he jumps and knocks us all down like he's Garland or something. Locke says, who are you? Sabin, is he here? Locke says, you were shadowing us earlier, right? And Vargas replies, brilliant. And how unlucky it is that you have run into me. And that's right, we have a boss fight on our hands. Now these 2 Ipu bears, we have to kill them first. But we're going to do that the same way we've done with everything else so far. We will try stealing because Locke doesn't really have much better to do. You don't really need his physical attack particularly. But we do have to kill these bears before we can start attacking Vargas, and down they go. We get a tonic off of Vargas, which is nice, but not his rare steal, unfortunately, but I feel like we just might never get that. Now I'm going to use the Bioblaster because Vargas is humanoid, and he will be weak to poison. I am going to go ahead and throw a cure down on everybody just to play it safe. Oh, right, he doesn't have anything. I should probably stop stealing. Hit him with another Bioblaster, and we'll have Locke go ahead and attack. Stop wasting turns. But Vargas is going to go down pretty quickly due to our combined fire and poison attacks here. And he says, come on, what's the matter? Well, I'll tell you what's the matter. You find yourself in a cloud of poison gas. Enough! Off with you now! And a voice cries out, give it up, Vargas! Is that you, Sabin? Sabin says, Vargas, why'd you do it? How could you do your own father in like that? Fool, he made the mistake of choosing you as his successor. He snubbed me, his only son. No, you were the one he chose. You're a liar, Vargas says. Sabin says our master wanted you to be his successor, not me. He appreciated your fine spirit. And Vargas says, enough of your lies. Now, have a taste of my superior technique. Mortal attack, Blizzard Fist. And that's gonna blow everyone away except for, of course, Sabin. Ah, Sabin. The master taught you well. Sabin says, I guess there's no avoiding this. Vargas says, fate made us train together. And fate will send you to your doom. Whew, I tire of this. Now he's going to hit us with Doomfist, which is going to put a countdown above our heads where we will die if that runs out. Fortunately, we have a full minute. So let's keep attacking and see what happens. Come on, Sabin. There's no going back. Now, it's not really clear where the misunderstanding between Vargas and Sabin came from, but we do know that he resented the martial arts lifestyle, so maybe he was just looking for any excuse to kill his own father. But Vargas says, time to put an end to this. The master's teachings must use a Blitz technique. And so here, it seems to me that, well, I'll explain after we get through this. Choose Blitz. Press the control pad left, right, left. Then press the A button. How to use Blitz. 1. Choose Blitz and press the A button. 2. When the cursor appears, enter your technique. 3. Using the control pad, press left, right, and left again. And 4. Finally, press the A button to engage the attack. 5. If you make a mistake, nothing will happen. Relax, there's no need to hurry. Choose Blitz, press the control pad left, right, left. Then press A. So the idea behind Blitz was supposed to come out of fighting games, but it seems to me that a lot of the playtesters had trouble understanding the mechanic, because that explanation is very, very, almost insultingly thorough. But we're going to go ahead and use a Pummel Blitz right now. But Vargas says, what the? He already taught you that? If only you hadn't been in such a rush for power. And down goes Vargas. Pummel wins the fight immediately. Sabin. Big brother? The brothers are reunited, Locke says. Tara says, younger brother? At first glance, I thought he was some bodybuilder who had strayed from his gym. Bodybuilder? And he laughs. I'll take that as a compliment. Anyway, brother, what are you doing here? And Edgar replies, we're on our way to the Sabil Mountains. Sabin says, to the returner hideout, no doubt. Which makes me wonder how much of a hideout it actually is if somebody who's been living in the mountains knows about it. But anyway, Sabin says, I've been watching from afar, hoping that the world might regain some sanity. At this rate, Figaro will be reduced to a puppet state. Edgar says our time to strike back has arrived. The Empire is going to pay for what it has done. Sabin says, think a bear like me could help you in your fight? Edgar says, you join us? Sabin! Sabin says, I think Duncan would rest easier if he knew his disciple played a part in bringing peace to the world. Let's get going. And we will, but there is one thing that we should do. I'm going to throw Sabin in the top slot. Let's check out his equipment. So he can use claws, and the rare steel that I was alluding to earlier on a couple of things is an upgraded claw for him, but once again, rare steels are very, very difficult to come by. His skills, or rather his unique skill, is the Blitz. So we learned Pummel in that fight by having explained to us like 4 times in a row, but we also have a couple others. This one here is Aurabolt, which is a holy elemental magic attack, and this one here is Suplex, which is a pretty cool and fun physical attack. I really, really like it. It has a very surprising use. However, what I was getting at a moment ago is that we should use our Warp Stone to get out of here and go deliver the news of Duncan's fate to his wife. So let's head back to South Figaro and do exactly that. But since we're in a fight right now, I kind of want to use a Blitz if I get the chance. Let's use an Aurabolt. Now the weird thing about Aurabolt versus Pummel is that Pummel is left, right, left, A. Aurabolt is down, down, left, left, A, but you have to roll it like a fireball motion from a fighting game, which is kind of confusing. You don't let up on the controller and press them. You have to smoothly roll from down to left, which is not how you execute Pummel by pressing left, right, left. It's a little bit weird. But as I was saying, the idea of Sabin's blitzes came from fighting game mechanics, and I think it's a really great skill. It's very unique and very memorable, to be sure, particularly when it doesn't work. You will remember that well. But let's talk to Duncan's wife. Sabin, where's Vargas? Where's my husband? And Sabin can barely speak. Master, was Vargas... Duncan's wife replies, I'll never understand, Vargas. Fortunately, my husband taught his most secret techniques to you. Sabin says, for 10 years you've treated me like a son. I am eternally grateful. And that's really it. It feels a bit truncated, but I feel like Duncan's wife doesn't really want to get emotional in front of everyone. She's being a bit stoic about it, which kind of makes sense for someone who would be married to a martial arts master. But anyway, now we've got to trudge all the way back up Mount Kolts, so I'll see you when we get back to where we were. All right, we are back at the top of Mount Kolts, and let's get out of here. And now, we get to make our way all the way over to the Returner hideout to have Terra meet Ben. And we even managed to get a little bit of grinding done while being semi-productive, which is my favorite way of going about things. And we're going to head in there, but that's going to have to wait until next time because I'm all out of time for today. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next Final Fantasy Friday.